The October 4th meeting of the Greater Dayton RTA Board of Trustees is hereby called to order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The mission of RTA is to provide great value, dependable service, and to be responsive, timely, and accountable for all that we do. Our key themes are safe, reliable, accessible, and professional. With that in mind, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Hurd?
Here.
Ms. Hairston?
Here.
Mr. Corrado?
Here.
Mr. Hoagie? Ms. Howard?
Present.
Ms. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Lumpkin?
Here.
Mr. Wexler?
Here.
And Mr. Williamson?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a quorum. We will be able to conduct business today. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the April 6, 2016 board meeting. The minutes of this meeting were presented for review to all board members prior to today's meeting. Unless there's any board member who requests a reading of the minutes, I will ask if there are any corrections or additions to the minutes as presented. Okay. Having heard no request for a reading of the minutes, nor any corrections or additions, the minutes stand approved as read. The next item on the agenda are the committee reports that are a result of the committee meetings that were held earlier this month. I'm sorry, at the end of last month. Oh, I'm sorry. You have the agenda in front of you. Are there any adjustments or changes? Okay. Then the agenda is approved as presented. And now we're into the committee reports. Finance and Personnel Committee Chairperson John Lumpkin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Finance, Personnel, and Planning Committees met for a jointly held meeting on September 20th as a result of the committees recommending 6 action items for the board's consideration. First will be action item number 2, purchase of trolley and cable feeder wire. feeder and wire. The purpose of this procurement is to contract with a vendor for the purchase of trolley cable, feeder, and wire for the Greater Dayton RTA. This procurement is to cover the current and anticipated needs for these materials over the next 5 years as RTA continues to make improvements to the electric system infrastructure. The material will be used on the following projects this year and next. Route 4 West project, the Warren, Brown, and Apple Streets, Robert Drive, Monument, and First Streets. Mr. Bob Rosinski provided a detailed explanation at our committee meeting, and the supporting information is included in today's board package. Bob is available to answer any questions the board may have at this time. Hearing none, based upon the recommendation of the Finance Personnel Committee, I move to award a contract to electrical cable specialists for the purchase of trolley cable, feeder, and wire for a total of $5,133,620 plus a 10% contingency to allow for the overage of the amount of $513,362.
Okay.
Resulting in a grand total award of $5,646,982. The final price is subject to the price of copper COMEX as published in the American Metal Market Daily at the time of order. In accordance with FTA accounting standards, the material will be originally purchased with the local funds and placed in inventory. The materials are used and will be charged to the property capital or operating account, at which time the FTA will reimburse the RTA 80% of the cost via capital grant or preventative maintenance federal funds.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
One correction, it was, the total award is $5,646,982. I think you said $446. But it's $5,646,982.
Oh, okay. If I did say that, I
I've
stand
done
corrected.
it too, so I understand.
Okay, so you
I'll
accept,
still second it.
okay, and you accept the correction. Okay, it's been properly moved and second that we proceed with the purchase of trolley cable, feeder, and wire. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Motion carried. We will take action to purchase trolley cable, feeder, and wire.
Action item number 3, feeder and conduit installation and miscellaneous work. The purpose of this procurement is to contract with a vendor for the installation of trolley cable, feeder, and wire for the Greater Dayton RTA. This procurement covers RTA's current base year needs for installation of these materials, along with routine projected work for the next 5 years. As RTA continues to make improvements to these electric systems infrastructure work, we will bid out major standalone projects. Mr. Rosinski presented this action item and the associated details at our committee meeting. The supporting information is included. I am sorry that she could not hear me down there. I thought I was projecting loud enough. The supporting information is included in today's board packet, and Bob is available to answer any questions at this time. Hearing none, based upon the recommendation of the Finance Personnel Committee, I move to award a contract to Capital Electric Line Builders Incorporated for the feeder and conduit installation and miscellaneous work as needed for the total of $825,728. This procurement will be funded 80% through federal grant funds.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that we proceed with the purchase of the feeder and conduit installation and miscellaneous work. Are there any other questions? Would you call the roll, please? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. We will proceed with the purchase of feeder and conduit installation and miscellaneous work.
Moving on, action item number 4, occupational medical services provider. The purpose of this procurement is to select and certify a medical facility to provide services for Department of Transportation, DOT, or DOT, physicals, pre-employment physicals, drug and alcohol testing, return to work physicals, and other related physicals and testing. The evaluation criteria for this procurement include experience as an occupational medical service provider and provider of DOT examinations for employer groups that require DOT examinations, reasonableness of cost, timeliness in seeing the doctor, receiving test results, scheduling appointments, billing, etc., professional atmosphere of office and staff. Ms. Allison Ledford presented this action item and the associated details at our committee meeting. The supporting information is included in today's board package. Staff is available to answer any questions that the board may have at this time. Hearing none, based upon the recommendations of the Finance and Personnel Committee, I move to award a contract to Occupational Health Centers of Ohio, doing business as Concentra Medical Centers, for occupational medical services. This contract term and cost is 3 years and at an estimated $221,832 plus 2 one-year options at an estimated $157,408 for an estimated grand total of $379,240. The actual dollar amount will vary based on usage. The occupational medical services provider will be paid with 100% operating funds.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that we move forward with the occupational medical services provider. Are there any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Action item 4 has passed, and we will move forward with the recommended occupational medical services provider.
Action item number 5, cybersecurity evaluation. The purpose of this procurement is to award a contract to a consulting firm to help review the current computer security environment. The consultant will develop the appropriate cybersecurity protection plan, recommend appropriate improvement steps, conduct a vulnerability assessment, provide a report and presentation of the assessment, and return for a penetration test. The evaluation committee reviewed this proposal using the following criteria: vendor's understanding and response to requirements, vendors' experience with similar projects, qualifications of personnel assigned, reasonableness of cost, quality of proposal preparation. This is the first time this type of study will be performed at the RTA. Mr. Harrington presented this action item and the associated details at our committee meeting. The supporting information is included in today's board package. Tim is available to answer any questions the board may have at this time. Hearing none, based upon the recommendation of the Finance Personnel Committee, I move to award a contract to Mafazo Digital Solutions for consulting services in developing RTA cybersecurity protection plan in the total amount of $70,000. This procurement will be funded with operating funds.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that we award the cybersecurity evaluation contract to the recommended company. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? What, abstentions?
Yes, Madam Chair, I brought up at the work meeting, and I'd like the minutes to reflect that one of my private clients is one of the bidders on this particular project, the Green Tree Group, and as a result of that disclosure, I will abstain from voting on this particular measure.
Thank you. Okay, so we have 6 in favor and 7 in favor and 1 abstention. So the motion is carried. The recommendation, we will award a contract as recommended by the Finance Committee for a cybersecurity evaluation. Action item 6.
Action item 6, resolution number 2016-10-1, FAST Act flexible funding. The Greater Dayton RTA has been notified by the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission, MVRPC, regarding the solicitation of new transportation projects under the Congestion Mitigation, Air Quality, and Surface Transportation Program. Once submitted, applications for the proposed new projects are to be reviewed and evaluated for possible inclusion in the State Transportation Improvement Program. In reviewing the region's transportation needs, staff has developed a project purchase of 8 30 to 35-foot community downtown circulator buses, which are eligible for flexible funding. The proposal has been scrutinized in the context of MVRPC practices and policies. Mr. Rosinski presented this action item and its associated details at our committee meeting. The supporting information and the pricing sheet is included in today's board package. Bob is available to answer any questions the board may have at this time. Hearing none, based upon the recommendation of the Financial Personnel Committee, I move to approve resolution number 2016-10-1, authorizing the submittal of all necessary documents and the fulfillment of all requirements in order to obtain additional funding for projects approved by the MVRPC, Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission.
Okay. It's been properly moved and second that we approve resolution number 2016-10-1, the FAST Act flexible funding. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Motion carried. We have approved resolution number 2016-10-1 for the FAST Act flexible funding. Action item number 7.
Action item number 7, group medical and prescription insurance. This procurement is for group medical and prescription drug coverage for employees of the Greater Dayton Regional Transit Authority, RTA. The RTA provides health coverage in accordance with its labor agreements and administrative employee benefits plan. Group medical and prescription drug coverage is coming before the board at this time because the current contracts for administrative services and stop-loss insurance expires December 31st, 2016. In an effort to contain rising health care costs, the RTA made the decision to self-fund the medical and prescription drug coverage effective January 1st, 2014. Unfortunately, the plan's actual claims costs have escalated well beyond what was anticipated starting in 2015 and more drastically in 2016. If the negative claims experience continues through 2016, the fund balance, including the terminal liability, IBNR, will be depleted by year end. As a result of RTA's negative experience and the related increased costs during the last 18 months, changes in the current benefit structure are needed to keep the costs manageable for both RTA and employees. The proposed medical coverage for 2017 is a high-deductible health plan, HDHP, with a health savings account, HSA. Mr. Steve Hopp and McGowan Brabender and Ms. Brett Richardson, RTA's Deputy Director of Human Resources, provided a detailed explanation at our committee meeting, and the supporting information is included in the attachment to today's board package. McGowan and Brabender and RTA staff are available to answer any questions the board may have at this time. Hearing none, based on the recommendations of the Finance and Personnel Committee, I move that the board and the trustees award a contract to United Healthcare Services Incorporated for its self-insured medical prescription insurance in the total estimated amount of $10,590,951 for a one-year period based on the current census. The recommendation includes that United Healthcare Services, Inc. be awarded an estimated $378,550 for administrative services for option year 1 and $386,169 for option year 2, for a grand total award of $11,355,670. The actual dollar amount will vary based on the census. The total insurance cost for option year 1 and option year 2 will depend on the proposals received at the time and will be brought to the board for further approval at that time. This procurement will be funded with operating funds.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Are there any questions? Okay, it's been properly moved in.
Madam Chair, I have a comment.
Yes.
Anything else? It is, I think it's important to note for the people here that in reviewing this particular item and the claims experience during the self-funded period of 2014, 2015, and 2016, at the committee meeting, it was made known to the board that a large percentage of the increased claims were due to the spouse claims made by spouses of covered employees. That's not a good thing or a bad thing, it's just a thing. And that's why I think that the plan on going away from the self-funded to what is being moved and set before the board is a good thing to make sure that both employees and spouses continue to be covered and that the self-fund doesn't run out of money the way that it was presented. So it's just a comment. I have seconded the motion, and I would encourage the board to approve the same.
I guess my only comment on that, and unfortunately, I was not at the committee meeting, so I'm making my comment based on a phone call I made after I got the information, and I think we are still going to be self-funded.
Yes.
It's just going to be under a different type of plan, which is still concerning because of the impact fiscally to both the agency and the employee. So I think
So
we are still self-funded. And so I think that's important. I don't think I got that from what you said initially.
If I was not clear, I meant to say the original self-funded method that we've been using.
Right.
It's probably important just to add to that had we not been self-funded the last few years, we might have been looking at a worse situation today, because we did have some savings that were placed in reserve that we've been literally running out over the past 12 months, or the damage could have even been worse. So, our hope is that this is our bad year, and I'm looking at Steve because he's our broker on this, and then hopefully we see that trend start to go the other direction now, and hopefully we'll have better news next year.
Okay, it's been properly moved in second, and we have had a few comments on action item 7, medical insurance. Are we ready to take action? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye. And I'm going to preference it with the fact that I was not at the committee meeting, and I apologize for that. It was allowed, I was excused, but since I didn't get the lack of discussion, I'm going to abstain at this time.
Okay, so action item 7, medical insurance, the recommendation has been approved with 7 in favor and 1 abstention due to limited information. Okay, thank you. And now, John, do you have a report for us?
Yes, some additional items to mention. The June sales tax update. Ms. Mary Stanford reported that June 2016 receipts are $173,000 higher than June of 2015. This equates to a 5% increase. Year-to-date, June 2016 receipts are $1.49 million higher than June of 2015. That equates to a 7.7% increase. Mr. Robert Thomas reported that for August of 2016, RTA's net loss after local depreciation is $268,000 compared to a budgeted loss of $114,000. August 2016 year-to-date net income after local depreciation is $402,000 compared to a year-to-date budgeted loss of $708,000. Key contributing factors to the year-to-date positive variance are the sales tax receipts, unrealized investment gains, and lower wage and benefit expense. 2017 operating budget and revenue scenarios. Ms. Stanforth presented a 2017 operating budget revenue scenario. Sales tax revenues are likely to be impacted by the possible elimination of the Medicaid provider sales tax. The draft 2017 through 2021 operating and capital budgets will be presented at the October committee meeting. And that concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Committee report from the Planning Committee. Ms. Howard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Finance, Personnel, and Planning Committees met for a jointly held meeting on September 20th, and while we do not have any action items to bring before you, we do have important updates to provide. Mr. Polachicchio provided a summary document of recent activities in the Customer and Business Development Department. This included updates on staff participation and recent activities related to the start of school for Sinclair Community College, the University of Dayton, and Wright State University. Also included in Mr. Polachicchio's summary was information on RTA services to this year's Dayton Art Institute Oktoberfest and ongoing staff preparations for this year's launch of RTA Real-Time Information. A summary of positive local and national news highlighting our agency was also provided. This concludes my report. Ms. Michelle Connolly, or I would be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the Planning Committee? Okay. Well, let's move on to the CEO's report. Mr. Donegan.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a couple items. Wanted to give you just a heads up, you know well about our bike shop, but since it opened not too long ago, one of the things we've added is to start doing outside repairs for people, especially who work downtown and commute on their bicycles. We're also doing a little bit of work for the city of Dayton on the police officers' bicycles. And just to give you a heads up, because it might surprise you, we're averaging about $1,200 a month in revenue from what we do there without adding any additional staff. So that's a good thing. I believe most of you are aware I was at the APT annual meeting last week, and it was really a fascinating meeting. The migration to technology has just been incredible in every industry, but in ours. And I sat in on several presentations about driverless vehicles, and they are so much closer than we think. Driverless cars are already operating in a couple cities, and believe it or not, so are driverless buses. There are some operating in China and some in Europe, and they say within 10 years we'll be seeing them on our soil. I may be half-hearted about that, being an old bus driver. I don't know. But it's fascinating what's happening. Also, the FTA had a strong presence there, and obviously things can change next year after the election, but I can tell you right now their priorities are state of good repair, which is what we're all about, replacing buses, upgrading our facilities, and asset management sorts of issues, and of course safety. So that's going to be a big, big thing. I also attended a conference, was a half day with my peers who are on systems that have already installed the Clever Devices system that we're at the end of our installation right now on. And it was fascinating. I came away, with a real belief that we're going to get exactly what we paid for with this technology as long as we stay on our frontline folks to make sure they're making use of the technology we've purchased. So it's really going to be a great, great tool for us, and we look forward to, we've got some really exciting things happening in November. I'm just going to leave it there. Is that right, Jessica? I'm not going to, One last item. A good friend of ours came in for a visit last week to see me, Clay Dixon, who is a former RTA board member. I know he happens to be former mayor, too. But Clay is heavily involved in this project for a cooperative store in the Salem Avenue corridor, and he's looking for some support from us in one of the committees that's working on that. And I told him, I said, we have the perfect guy to help him with that, who knows all about RTA and happens to have grown up in a family grocery business. That's Lowell Harris, who is a shift supervisor in operations here. And Lowell was pretty excited about it. So we'll be active in the project and loaning expertise on both the bus system and in the grocery business, because Jim said he thought it'd be a great idea. And just to let you know that we will be involved to the extent we can be to support that project. Sounds like a really great thing. And Clay wanted to extend his best wishes to those of you he hasn't seen lately. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. I don't have any old business, so we'll move on to new business. The only new business is that this is the start of another year, so we do have to indicate who our committee members are. And the most recent one I could find was June of 2015, so I think October is the appropriate month. We've indicated that John Lumpkin is head of the Finance and Personnel Committee. Sharon Howard is chairing the Planning Committee. David Williamson is going to continue to chair the Investment Advisory Committee. On the Planning Committee, we would have Janet Jones and our newest member, Mr. Wessinger, because the person whose seat you filled was on that committee. John, you had been on the Planning Committee, but now that you're on the Finance Committee, which also puts you on the Investment Committee, we thought you'd like to maybe drop one committee.
You don't have to, though.
We can't drop two committees?
The Finance and Personnel Committee is now being chaired by John Lumpkin. Adrian Hurd remains on the Finance Committee, along with Vince Corrado, David Williamson, and Franz Hoagie. With the Investment Advisory Committee, John Lumpkins, as chair of the Finance Committee, goes to the Investment Advisory Committee. Adrian Hurd, as chairman of the Board of Trustees, goes to the Finance Committee. It also includes Mark Donahue, Mary Stanforth, and some individuals from the community who I don't have on this. Ms. Hairston, because you no longer serve on the Investment Advisory Committee, would you be willing to assist on the Planning Committee, since it only has 2 people now?
Sure.
Okay.
I couldn't just not be on a committee. I just questioning. Sure.
Okay, and as
So now who's on the planning?
so now I'll read this down, and I will send this to you to write up. It's not something that we vote on, it's just something that we put someplace. So now as president is Adrian Hurd, and I serve as ex officio on all committees. Vice president is Sharon Hairston, and she facilitates the joint committee meetings. The Planning Committee chair is Sharon Howard. The members are Janet Jones, Sharon Hairston, and Mr. Wessinger. What's your first name? Tom. The Finance and Personnel Committee, the chair is John Lumpkin. The members are Vince Corrado, David Williamson, and Franz Hoagie. The Investment Advisory Committee, the chair is Dave Williamson. The members are John Lumpkin, Adrian Hurd, Mark Donahue, and Mary Stanford. And I was supposed to ask for suggestions, and that's what we just did, ask for suggestions. Okay, I'll be sure that you get a copy of this, Mary. Okay. Next on the agenda is public comment. The guidelines for making public comments appear in Board Policy Number 27. I'm not going to read them entirely because they are on the form that you fill out, but basically, all requests to address the board have to be presented to us before the board meeting opens at 3 o'clock. Only the citizen who has completed and whose name appears on the registration form may address the board, and you may not yield or defer your time to another citizen, and you can only speak on your own behalf. You are limited to 3 minutes. We have a stop sign, and when you begin speaking, you have to give us your name and your address, and once you've done that, then the time starts. When you are within 30 seconds, it goes to yellow, and when it goes to red, please stop and sit down. You should address us from the podium. If you are unable to address the podium, we do have a mic that can be brought to your place. Okay. And so with that, let's start with Jeffrey Smith.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Jeffrey Smith from Cincinnati, Ohio. My first name is spelled Jeffry. I hope that doesn't become significant. Anyway, I am a firearms instructor and a civil rights activist. And it's been brought to my attention, and maybe I should speak to Mr. Hollingsworth, and I don't know, is Mr. Williamson an attorney also?
I am,
But at this point, you're addressing the board.
Thank you. And so anyway, it's come to my attention that your rules of the road on the website, and I believe it's called the Code of Conduct or something like that, has a section that prohibits weapons. And so I have one question, and then let me go on with my presentation. My question is probably to Mr. Hollingsworth, and that is this entity subject to Ohio's sunshine laws?
Sunshine laws?
Open
Yes.
records?
Yes.
Okay. I felt that was the case, and you are a political subdivision of Ohio. As a political subdivision of Ohio, the RTA is subject to Ohio's firearm preemption law, which is the Ohio Revised Code 9.68. And in that, it says that any political subdivision of the state of Ohio, of which the RTA is one, must follow the firearm laws of the state. The firearm laws of the state preempt political subdivisions in the state of Ohio from setting their own rules in opposition to the rules that the legislature of Ohio has passed and the governor has signed. One of those laws is that those with a concealed handgun license, which is what it's called in Ohio, it's called other things in other states, can be in a motor vehicle in Ohio with a loaded firearm as long as they possess a concealed handgun license. I was down earlier today and spoke with, I believe his name is Tony Nicely, and also, I guess he pointed me to Jerry Guston, I think, a person to speak to. But I have sent emails about this subject in the past, as some associates of mine have done the same thing. And what has tended to end up happening is that it gets to the point where the person doesn't reply. I think I dealt with a Barbara, somebody or another, a couple of years ago. And I can't remember the man's name that a friend of mine who lives here in Dayton dealt with a ways back. But anyway, I like to talk first, and if necessary, engage in public action. I would prefer to not do that. So I'd like to ask Mr. Hollingsworth to be able to speak with him, for the board's endorsement for me speaking to him, and also to Mr. Guston, I believe is his name. That's what I'd like to do, and I'd like your endorsement of that approach.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple of issues that would have to be addressed. Thank you, sir. But first of all, are we considered a political subdivision? And also, does that rule apply to public transportation as well as private transportation?
Are you asking for a legal opinion?
No,
at this
I'm
moment?
saying those are two things that we would need to take
You
into
are a political
consideration,
subdivision.
that we would ask for you and Mark to figure out what
Sure.
that is.
It's not a new subject.
And then we will because we don't give legal opinions right there. But those are two of the things that would be part of the consideration, the public, political subdivision and public transportation as opposed to private transportation.
Sure.
Yes, and then your contact information is on here. Your phone number is not, but your address is on here. So this will go to Mr. Mark Donahue, and he will, our CEO. Okay, thank you.
John, I will send you the prior correspondence on these.
Okay. The next request for public comment, and I believe it's Larry Cornwell. Okay, would you like to have a mic brought to you? Okay, it's coming. Name and address.
I'm Dr. Larry Cornwell. My address is 5460 Dufftree Boulevard, Moraine. I teach at Sinclair College. I've taught there 10 years. I'm in the area of criminal justice and criminal law. I want to talk about safety. You have got some very poor drivers. They fly across these railroad tracks. They don't stop. They don't open the doors. Speeding. Catawba Avenue. I had a driver going 35 miles an hour to 40. And I sit right behind the driver and I can see the speedometer. And as I said, I've been a police officer 43 years. Number two, the people have no idea how to cross these speed bumps. I had a gentleman in my parking lot cross a speed bump at 35 miles an hour. And for 2 years, I've been seeing a chiropractor because my neck and my back are sprained. I'm 100% disabled according to VA standards, okay? It's not gonna cost you anything, but I am sure in a tremendous amount of pain because of these drivers that are so terrible. Second thing I want to talk about is no-shows. Last Thursday, I got out of the court building at 2:45. My pickup was 4 o'clock. I had three RTA buses pass by, and I wondered where they were going to park. I followed them. They kept on going. Now, there was a bus that pulled up. I was supposed to meet the driver there on 3rd Street. There was a driver 2.5 blocks away sitting over there behind the federal court building. And I called at 4:20 because my pickup was 4. And the lady said that the driver's on the way. Well, I called at 4:45 and they said, I got a no-show. I've been sitting outside in the rain. Now, I want that no-show removed. I don't, and I am never late. I take pride in being on time. Please help me. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a procedure for you to challenge a no-show.
Sure, I'd encourage him, Mr. Napier, our Chief Operations Officer, will speak to you at the close of this meeting. He'll take care of all your complaints.
And then we are concerned about the railroad crossings and the speed bumps and speeding on Catawba. The easiest way for us to address that is for you to report when it happens, especially if you can tell us the bus number, because then we have a specific information that we can take action on, okay?
I've spoken to Pat Kelly, and she and I are very good friends.
Okay,
Ask her how many people I've reported to her and Cecil over the years. I've been here 13 years. I'm not
Okay.
impressed.
Okay.
People are gonna have an accident.
okay.
And we get hit by a train, we won't be here.
Okay, so would Jim be
He would
the one-
handle all of that.
Okay, so Mr. Napier.
And again, I just, for the general
want
public,
to-
I encourage people to call right away because our video systems have limits. If we don't capture the incident quickly enough, we lose it.
I've always given Pat
Sure.
the bus number
Great.
and the time and the location.
All right.
Okay, that's the information that we need.
Thank you.
So we'll have Mark, we'll have one that you will address and one that Jim will address, and then you'll let us know what happens. Okay, thank you. Are there any board member comments or announcements? Hearing none. Is there a need for an executive session? The next item on the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Meeting adjourned.